Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ringside Cinema. I am Money Mike, and yesterday on the channel I did a video talking about what AEW should do in 2025, and I talked a little bit about how they should focus in on more of their homegrown talent, such as Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, and many others that they have, opposed to bringing in free agents from WWE or New Japan. And today I want to conclude that topic by saying how AEW should do this in a way that would also benefit Ring of Honor, and that is just by copying the WWE and NXT formula that is working for WWE. Now, since AEW, Tony Khan acquired Ring of Honor, it's been one of those things where it's just kind of there. It's not like a big thing. It's not like something people look forward to. And with the new deal for AEW going to Max, I do feel like, to me, this is kind of where AEW can copy WWE and their successful formula for NXT. More specifically, the new NXT. We look back at the black and gold era of NXT, obviously we look back at it fondly. But it was a lot of bringing in indie talent from the indies that the fans already knew, or bringing in established veterans like a Samoa Joe or Bobby Roode to bring awareness to the NXT brand. And that's good. That was great. It worked for them at the time. But when they got called up to the main roster, obviously Vince was still in charge, and so a lot of botched NXT call-ups. But now, with the way NXT is now, with a lot of talent coming in from not the indies, they're bringing in people who don't have wrestling backgrounds and training them at the Performance Center from the ground up, so to speak. Tiffany Stratton, she's one of the brightest and top prospects in WWE right now. And she has that Money in the Bank contract. And there's a reason for it, because she's one of the best homegrown talent that WWE has developed that has not come from the indies. And right now, with AEW, Ring of Honor, they seem to be bringing in people that are just indie talent, opposed to developing their own from within. And I think that's the biggest thing to cap everything off. To cap what I said yesterday is to just simply copy what WWE is doing. And I know there's a lot of portion of the fan base that may leave a comment and go, well, they don't want to be WWE. But to me, you kind of have to at least take this aspect of what WWE is doing and apply it to you. And I think that starts with Ring of Honor. Because when AEW first bought Ring of Honor, a lot of fans speculated and even said that maybe they could make it their own NXT, where you could bring talent in to go to Ring of Honor, then they get caught up to AEW, which would be the main roster. And I think that is where it all starts. We've seen AEW integrate Ring of Honor into the AEW shows. We know Chris Jericho is now a 2-time Ring of Honor champion. And yes, that's great, but again, I think you need to establish Ring of Honor as its own brand, its own championships need to be within Ring of Honor. And yes, we've seen WWE bring up Say Braun Breaker, when he was in the NXT champion, he defended the title on Raw. Now that's great every once in a while. We've seen veterans like the New Day go down to NXT. We've seen Becky Lynch do the same thing. And I think when I look at the AEW roster, I think how bloated it is. I think you could send some people down there to help establish Ring of Honor. You could keep the Ring of Honor titles down there. And I think, to me, when I look at Chris Jericho, he's the Ring of Honor World Champion right now. I think you need to find somebody that is going to carry the Ring of Honor brand going into 2025, and someone that you can build upon, not just in Ring of Honor. You got to find somebody that is going to eventually be that guy in AEW when they're eventually called up, so to speak. And to me, I think that starts in 2025. You've got to separate AEW from Ring of Honor. You've got to establish, hey, this is our developmental brand. If you want to make it like a legitimate brand, that's fine. But I think you need to make it their developmental brand so that you can bring guys in and train them and develop them, let them work through Ring of Honor. Hell, if you really want to copy NXT, you do have Daly's Place right there in Jacksonville, right there by the stadium, where you could essentially have Daly's Place be what Full Sail was to NXT. You could have Daly's Place be to Ring of Honor what Full Sail used to be to NXT. It could be the homegrown little place for Ring of Honor to develop the stars, and you keep them within that local area of Jacksonville. And then maybe you do take the Ring of Honor pay-per-views out to different areas, and maybe you do what WWE does, and you maybe make it a weekend package where you have the Ring of Honor shows on Friday, and then the AEW pay-per-view is on Saturday, or the Ring of Honor pay-per-view on Saturday, and the AEW pay-per-view on Sunday. I think, to me, when I look at what AEW has done with Ring of Honor, I think this is the biggest missed opportunity where they could actually rectify this and make this their own NXT in 2025. And I also believe, too, they need to look outside of the indies and bring in talent that, again, look at WWE right now. They're bringing in talent that comes from non-wrestling backgrounds, and they're developing them, and it's working for them. So I think if AEW can start doing that, and yeah, look, I know people are going to say, well, they shouldn't be caught doing this, but I'm like, it's working for WWE. You have the Nightmare Factory, which is run by Dustin Rhodes. Like, I get it, the whole WWE ID thing, I get it, they're signing talent to these developmental deals, so to speak, and, I'm not saying you need to do like an AEW ID, but you could expand the Nightmare Factory into like a performance center type of building where you can bring in talent, train them, and then when they're ready, put them in Ring of Honor. Similar to what we see with WWE. I think that would work. They need to start finding their own homegrown talent that is going to lead the way for the future, because we're, 5-6 years into AEW, and they're relying on the same people. I think you have to give fans kind of that hope of, okay, who is that guy that is going to lead the charge for AEW going into the later half of this decade? Who is going to be that guy? Like I said yesterday, I titled the video, they need to find their John Cena, essentially Cody Rhodes now, which is ironic, but the entire basis of what AEW needs to do in 2025, it really revolves around just copying what WWE is currently doing and finding their own talent and developing them. Stop relying on free agents. I mean, look, I said this yesterday. I said it's the same thing what happened in the 90s. WCW signed all their free agents from WWE and that Vince didn't want, and then Vince made new stars. And we're seeing the same thing happen here. WWE has let people go like Bobby Lashley, Edge. He's let Adam Cole. He's let a lot of guys go that many fans were like, well, oh man, how could WWE let them go? Well, because they have so many talent down in their pipeline that they don't need them no more. Mercedes Moné. Why would WWE overpay or try to match what AEW paid her when they got a Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, Julia, Stephanie Vaquer? To me, this is what AEW needs. They need to develop that pipeline of talent for the future. Because, again, I think that's really what's missing if you really want to get AEW where they need to be to rebound and regain the momentum they lost a couple years ago. And it starts with making Ring of Honor their NXT. Establish maybe Daly's Place as the area for Ring of Honor, where you have Ring of Honor shows. Maybe Ring of Honor is exclusively on Max every Thursday or whatever. The same way how when the WWE Network launched, NXT was an exclusive to the WWE Network, and we got to see the NXT stars develop week to week on weekly TV. Right now with Ring of Honor, it's kind of gated behind a paywall with the Honor Club. And I think if you were to put that on Max, Ring of Honor on Max, the same way NXT is, I think you would have a lot greater success. You can interrogate maybe some AEW talent to go down there every once in a while, like we've seen with WWE, and that's fine. But I think if you do make it a place where you can develop your own homegrown talent, you can go out and start branching out beyond the indies to find that guy. Again, remember, Goldberg, I mentioned this yesterday, Goldberg was one of WCW's, I think, probably the best homegrown talent they've developed in the Attitude Era, and he didn't come from a wrestling background. He played football. Braun Breaker, yeah, his father and uncle are the Steiner brothers, but he played football, and now he's one of the rising stars in WWE at the moment. The same thing with Tiffany Stratton. I think she came from a college volleyball background, and she's probably going to be a women's champion, maybe as soon as Survivor Series. And I'll talk about that in a video coming up. So I want you to hit that like and subscribe button, as I do produce weekly wrestling content right here on this channel. And I will be live streaming Survivor Series this Saturday starting at 5 p.m. as I will get you guys ready for the Bloodline Civil War games. AEW in general, I think to me, that's what they're really missing. They're missing the ability to develop and create their own stars. We're 5 or 6 years in. You can't no longer just rely on an MJF. You can't rely on free agents from WWE. You have to be able to find that next guy. Is there a John Cena? Is there a Cody Rhodes out there for AEW that can take AEW to the next level? Or at the very least, get them back to where they were a couple years ago when they were at the height of their popularity. So, to me, I think AEW in 2025 needs to focus on their homegrown talent, start developing them, give them TV time, and maybe rely less on some of the veterans like a Edge, a Bobby Lashley, or even a Chris Jericho, who I think is kind of going through what Cody Rhodes went through at the end of his AEW run, where the fans are just tired of him. They're booing him. And so, yeah. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that AEW should copy what WWE is doing in NXT right now? Do you think they need their own performance center? Comment below and let me know your thoughts on yesterday's video and today's video as I detailed what I think AEW should do in 2025. I've been your host, Money Mike, and you've been watching Ringside Cinema.
Ringside Cinema, where the battles roar. Ringside Cinema, legends at the core. Tune in, feel the rush. Wrestling meets the screen. Ringside Cinema, living out the dream. Living out the dream. Living out the dream. Lights down, time to go. Cheers for heroes we know. Ringside forever bold. Wrestling never gets old.